Welcome back to In Response EDH. We're glad you can join us again. My name is Albert, and on today's gameplay episode we have Baron once again joining us, playing his Voltron partner commanders, Kraum and Ardenn. He keeps an opening hand of Boros Signet, Academy Ruins, Swords to Plowshares, Nimbus Maze, Black Blade Reforged, Plains, and an Island. Jose is back and he's got a new deck built around one of the legendary creatures from the newest set, Kaldheim, Maja, Bretegard Protector. He keeps an opening hand of Camaraderie, Harvest Season, Battle for Bretegard, Blossoming Defense, Soul Ring, and 2 Plains. I'm up next and I'll be playing my Lord Windgrace Lands Matter deck. I keep an opening hand which consists of Ancient Green Warden, Avenger of Zendikar, Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, Soul Ring, Carpet of Flowers, Temple of Malady, and a Westvale Abbey. New to the channel is our friend Jaime. He also has built a deck around Kaldheim Commander, Fynn the Fangbearer. His opening hand consists of Evolution Sage, Champion of Lambholt, Lignify, Wasteland Viper, Tendershoot Dryad, and 2 Forests. Baron won the die roll and gets to start us off. He starts by playing a tapped Mystic Monastery. Jose starts his turn off by playing a Plains, tapping it, and casting a turn 1 Soul Ring. I play a Temple of Malady as my land for turn, scrying 1, keeping it on top. Jaime draws a card, plays a Forest, and casts a Wasteland Viper. Baron starts turn 2 off by playing a Plains and dropping a Boros Signet. Jose draws a card, plays a Plains, but has no follow-up play. With that, he ships the turn to me. I draw a card, play a Westvale Abbey as my land, tap it for 1 mana to cast a Soul Ring. I then tap a green mana to play a Carpet of Flowers. After that, I pass the turn to Jaime. Jaime untaps, draws a card, plays a Forest for his turn, and brings out his commander, Fynn the Fangbearer. He rolls a dice to see who's going to be attacked first, and lucky me, I'm the first to take infect damage. I take 1 damage from the Viper, and also get 2 poison counters. After that, he passes the turn. Baron draws a card, drops a Nimbus Maze. He uses 3 mana to bring out his commander, Ardenn, Intrepid Archaeologist. He passes to Jose. Jose draws a card and misses his land drop. Sadly, he passes the turn to me. I draw a card and put down a Polluted Delta. I pay 1 life to sacrifice it and search up an overgrown tomb. The tomb comes in untapped, dealing 2 damage to me. I tap out to play Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. I choose to uptick Nissa, creating a 0/1 plant token. Jaime plays another Forest, taps all 3 mana to play a Champion of Lambholt. Jaime moves into combat and swings the Wasteland Viper at Jose and his commander at Baron. But before damage resolves, Baron answers with the Swords to Plowshares, exiling Jaime's commander and gaining him 1 life. Baron plays an Exotic Orchard as his land for turn, and taps all his mana to bring out his commander, Kraum, Ludovic's Opus. Baron moves into combat. He chooses to attack Nissa with his hasty Kraum, dealing enough damage to take her out. He passes the turn to Jose, who misses his land drop for the 2nd time, and ends his turn by discarding a card.
Right.
Oh my goodness, you guys are going to let him win again.
What do you mean by let?
I draw a card and also miss my land drop. I tap 4 mana to play an Oracle Moldaya. which allows me to reveal the top card of my library and play it if it's a land. I flip the top card of my library over and reveal Azusa, Lost but Seeking. With nothing else, I pass to Jaime. Jaime also misses a land drop, taps 2 mana to play a Venom Sliver. Since a creature entered the battlefield under his control, Champion of Lambholt will get a +1/+1 counter. He moves to combat and swings his 1/2 Death Toucher at Baron. Baron elects not to block with his commander and takes 1 damage. Baron draws a card and plays an island as his land drop, finally activating my Carpet of Flowers. He taps 2 mana to cast Black Blade Reforged. He also taps 2 more mana to cast a Swiftfoot Boots. At the beginning of his combat, Ardenn's ability will trigger, allowing him to equip Kraum with the Black Blade and the Swiftfoot Boots without paying their equip cost. This makes Kraum a 9/9 with flying, haste, and hexproof. He sends Kraum at Jaime, dealing 9 commander damage to him. He then passes a turn to Jose. Jose misses his land drop again, but is able to help the table by casting Citywide Bust, destroying all creatures with toughness 4 or greater. After that, he passes a turn. I untap and draw a card. I reveal a Glacial Chasm off the top of my deck, but choose not to play it since it makes me sacrifice a land and it doesn't tap for mana. During my main phase, Carpet of Flowers will give me 1 green mana, which I'll use to cast Azusa, Lost but Seeking. I end my turn after that. Jaime draws a card, misses a land drop again. He taps 2 to cast a Lignify, targeting Ardenn. This causes Ardenn to become a 0/4 Treefolk, but more importantly, strips him of all abilities. Jaime moves into combat and swings his Viper at Jose and his Sliver at me, dealing 1 damage to each of us. On Jaime's end step, Baron taps 1 white mana to play Tear to destroy the Lignify, proving that he always has the answer. Baron starts turn 5 off by playing a command tower, and being the only player at the table to not miss a land drop. He taps out, paying 7 mana to cast Kraum for the 2nd time. Ardenn's ability will trigger, allowing Baron to re-equip the Black Blade Reforged and Swiftfoot Boots to Kraum. Baron decides to swing his 10/10 Kraum at Jaime. Jaime doesn't have any blockers and has to take the damage, giving him a total of 19 commander damage. Baron passes a turn to Jose. Jose draws a card and slams a forest onto the table. Jose taps 3 mana to play Battle for Bretegard. When the Saga enters the battlefield, he gets to create a 1/1 human warrior token. I start my turn by drawing the Glacial Chasm off the top of my deck and revealing a Tireless Tracker. I tap 3 mana to cast a Maelstrom Pulse, targeting the Black Blade Reforged, destroying it. Jaime draws a card, and again misses his land drop. He taps 3 mana to play a Snake Umbra, which he chooses to put on the Champion of Lambholt, giving it +1/+1, and will draw him a card each time he deals damage to an opponent. He moves to combat and swings all 3 of his creatures at Baron. Baron can't block and takes 5 damage, allowing Jaime to draw a card off the Snake Umbra. Baron draws a card and plays an Academy Ruins as his land for turn. He then taps 3 mana to play a Loxodon Warhammer. At the beginning of his combat phase, Ardenn will trigger, allowing him to equip the Loxodon Warhammer for free, making Kraum a 7/4 with hexproof, haste, and lifelink. He once again swings at Jaime, dealing the last points of commander damage, and taking Jaime out of the game. On Jose's draw step, he adds a lore counter to the battle for Bretegard, allowing him to create a 1/1 green elf warrior token. He then taps 2 mana to play Farseek, allowing him to search up a temple garden to the battlefield. After that, he passes the turn to me. I draw the Tireless Tracker off the top of my deck and reveal a Luxury Suite. I play the Luxury Suite off the top of my deck as one of my land drops. Then I flip the top card of my library, revealing a Gitrog monster. On my main phase, the Carpet of Flowers will give me 1 black mana, and I tap 4 more to play my commander, Lord Windgrace. I play the Glacial Chasm out of my hand as my second land for turn, and -3 Lord Windgrace to return a Westvale Abbey and a Polluted Delta to the battlefield. I sacrifice the Polluted Delta to search up a Blood Crypt, which will enter the battlefield tapped, but forgetting to pay the 1 life for the Polluted Delta. I follow that up by playing a Tireless Tracker. I then use the 1 floating mana I had from the Westvale Abbey and tap 2 more lands to play the Tireless Tracker, and should have played the Tireless Tracker before activating Lord Windgrace. Baron activates the Academy Ruins, putting the Black Blade Reforged back on top of his deck from the graveyard. With Baron nearly tapped out, Jose uses the opportunity to cast a Court of Calling, where X equals 3. As he goes searching, I remember to flip the top card of my library, revealing a Cabal Coffers, which I get to play as my 3rd land drop. I then flip the top card of my library again, and reveal World Breaker. With the Cabal Coffers entering the battlefield, I get a clue token from the Tireless Tracker. Jose decides on a Knight of the Reliquary as his target for the Court of Calling. He then explains to the table that he was actually 1 mana short of the card he really wanted to tutor for. Baron starts turn 7 by playing a Shivan Reef as his land for turn, and tapping 2 mana to play the Black Blade Reforged again. At the beginning of combat, Ardenn will trigger again, allowing him to equip the Black Blade Reforged to his Kraum, making it a 14/11 with lifelink, hexproof, and haste. Baron decides to swing at Jose, dealing 14 commander damage to him. On Jose's draw step, he puts the final lore counter on the battle for Bretegard, allowing him to double the tokens he currently controls. He then moves into combat and attacks Lord Windgrace. I block his Knight with my plant, his Elf with Azusa, and his Warrior with the Tireless Tracker. Before damage is dealt, he casts Blossoming Defense on his Elf, making it a 3/3, killing off the Azusa. The Knight of the Reliquary takes out my plant, and my Tireless Tracker takes out the Warrior. On his second main phase, he casts a Llanowar Scout and taps out for a Promise of Tomorrow. On Jose's end step, Baron casts a Crush Contraband, exiling my Soul Ring and the Carpet of Flowers. And pays 1 more mana to cast Path to Exile on the Tireless Tracker. I search for a forest and put it to the battlefield. I draw the Temple of the False God off the top of my deck, revealing the Rhythm of the Wild on the top of my deck. I decide not to pay the upkeep on the Glacial Chasm and let it go to the graveyard. I then tap 6 mana to play an Ancient Green Warden. This allows me to play lands from my graveyard and cause landfall abilities to trigger twice. I replay the Glacial Chasm from my graveyard, sacrificing the Westvale Abbey. I then use Lord Windgrace's ability to discard the Temple of the False God to draw 2 cards. I then play the Temple of the False God as my second land drop from the graveyard. I pass the turn to Baron after that. Baron starts turn 8 by finally missing a land drop. He moves straight into combat and swings at Jose, taking him out with commander damage, and gains 14 life off of Kraum. On his end step, I pay 2 mana to crack the clue and draw a card. I start my turn by drawing the mountain off the top of my deck and revealing an Eternal Witness. I then plus Lord Windgrace, discarding a mountain to draw 2 cards. I once again forget about the Glacial Chasm on my upkeep and decide to pay 2 life to keep it around. I then draw my second card. I then reveal a forest on the top of my deck and play it as one of my land drops. I then tap 7 mana to cast Avenger of Zendikar, creating 9 0/1 plant tokens since I control 9 lands. I then play the Westvale Abbey out of my graveyard as my second land for turn, and put a 1/1 counter on each plant creature I control. Baron starts turn 9 by playing a Sea of Clouds. He then moves to combat and attacks Lord Windgrace. I choose not to block with my Green Warden, and Lord Windgrace goes back to the command zone. Baron gains another 14 life, taking his total up to 83. On my upkeep, I don't pay the cost to keep the Glacial Chasms in play, and I let it go to the graveyard. I draw a card and reveal a Sylvan Safekeeper on top. I choose to shortcut and cast Realms Uncharted and Cultivate to search up 2 basic lands and 4 lands of my choice with Realms Uncharted. I choose Field of the Dead, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, Dark Depths, and a Thespian Stage. Baron then separates those into 2 piles and gives me the Field of the Dead and Urborg and lets the Dark Depths and Thespian Stage go to my graveyard. Field of the Dead sees 2 lands enter the battlefield at the same time, creating 2 2/2 zombie tokens, but the Green Warden will double that, giving me 4 zombie tokens instead. Then the Forest from the Cultivate will enter the battlefield tapped also, creating 2 more zombie tokens. This will also put 6 +1/+1 counters on all my plants. I then play the Glacial Chasm out of my graveyard and sacrifice it to itself. This gives me 2 more zombies and 2 more +1/+1 counters on all my plants. I then move to combat and swing at Baron with all my plants, my Avenger, and the Green Warden for 91 damage. Baron elects not to block and takes all 91 damage, knocking him out of the game. Congratulations to me. This was a very odd game, with Jaime, Jose, and I having such bad mana trouble early on in the game, and not to mention I kept a very sketchy hand, which surprises me even more that I got the win. This is one of the most explosive wins I've had with this deck, and I'm glad we got to record it. You'll definitely see more of it in the future, since it is one of my favorite commanders to play. Baron's deck came out firing on all cylinders. Kraum and Ardenn complement each other so well. He just needed a few of the many equipment cards he has in his deck to finish off Jaime and Jose with ease. Unfortunately for him, he had no answer to deal with the Glacial Chasm that kept him at bay. Jose never really got set up because he lacked a green mana source for the majority of the game. I've seen this deck in action, and this deck can swarm the board with buffed up tokens fast when it gets off to a decent start. Jaime's Infectless Infect deck also suffered from a severe lack of mana. He also had tons of pressure put on him from Baron, who eventually killed him before he can even set up. We didn't get to see its potential in this game, but I hope we get to see it in future games perform well. Thank you all again for watching. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe for more weekly gameplay videos. And don't forget to follow us on our social medias and watch us live stream every Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Twitch.